All right, so I'm recording now. Okay, so let's start this session. The idea today is to get you familiarized with the tools we've been building to do the release notes of each of the Kubernetes releases. And I don't know if you had a chance to see the documentation that we were trying to merge last week. It's a pretty simple process, really. Most of it is already automated, so let's see if we can do the notes. So let me share my screen. Desktop. All right, can you see my desktop now?
Yeah.
All right, so I think we should start following the instructions, and so we can also see if they're right, if anything is missing. So the first part is I already have the Kubernetes release repo cloned in my computer. Just let me check if it's up to date. All right. So it's already, I already have it cloned. Okay, so the first part involves building the krel tool. You should have already Go installed in your computers. So let me see. Okay, here it is. So we now have a script to build the release tools, which is this script here, compile release tools. I already have the latest modules and everything, so it should take really short time to build it. I don't know if the font size is big enough, or
It's kind of small.
how about there?
Yeah, that's fine.
So I already have this command already built the krel tool and installed it in my Go directory here, and so I should already have. Okay, here it is, and this is the krel tool, and the command that concerns us is the release notes subcommand here. We have built a little bit of help with all the options that we can specify to it, and you're supposed to get a GitHub token in order to be able to push changes to your branch. You're supposed to have already branched forked both of the repositories. One is the Kubernetes 6 release notes. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And the other is the SIG release repository. Okay, so I have right now I have a working copy of krel in my machine, and I'm gonna export my GitHub token. Okay, in order to be able to talk to my repo. So we're supposed to build the first minor release we're supposed to build the release notes for is this version right here, which is version 1.19-alpha.2. And so we'll go ahead and run the krel tool. So we're going to, let me still follow the instructions. Okay, so let's build a draft first. I have already the token exported in my environment, and let's build the release notes for that. So this is krel, the subcommand release notes. We'll create the draft PR. So we're building the release notes draft, and the subcommand, the option is called draft PR because eventually it will submit the PR. That last part doesn't happen yet, but we're confident that we're gonna finish that during this cycle. And then you have to specify the organization, the GitHub organization, that is your username usually, where you're going to where you have the fork of the SIG released repository, and which for me is Puerco, like that.
Yeah.
And then finally the tag. So if you don't specify a tag, krel will try to find the latest tag and build the notes for that. So in this case, it would be correct, but it's better if you make sure to be running the right one. Tag that one. Oh, so it's already running. So what this command does in the background is it's right now it's cloning all of the Kubernetes repository. It's bringing down the whole copy of it, and it will start to process each of the commit messages that are registered in the from the latest release, from the last release, which should be, I think, 1.18 or one of the, or I don't know if it's from 1.18 or 1.18.0 or 1.18.2, and it'll process all the commit messages up to the release that we're currently working on. And the reason that we need the GitHub token is because it will start calling the GitHub API to retrieve all the messages. And and at this point of the cycle, it's not that much of an interaction with the API because we still have a rather small number of changes. But as the release goes further, particularly in the end, sometimes you hit the API limits. All right, probably should have found that. I don't know if you're following along with me, and or if you have any questions or.
Following along. So far, I think for me it's all good.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it easier to call the GitHub API instead of like parsing the actual commit messages since we're already cloning it?
Oh, so it will, what it does in the background is that it clones the repository, and then it reads the commit messages from the local repository, and then gets the information of the actual commits from the GitHub API.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that part we didn't build that part. So Sasha Grant is the one who made this this part of the program. I don't know. That's the way he built it. So
there's probably more data that's not in the commit messages, but only on GitHub.
Yeah, for sure. So GitHub gives you a lot more, particularly information from the user and so on. All the tags, the tags are included in the local repository, but I don't know.
Or maybe,
How they get to find out?
or maybe it pulls a later version of the repo.
What? I'm sorry?
Or maybe it pulls a later version and it has to depend on the API calls to get more info. Maybe that's why she did it like that. Because like Wilson asked, do I still need to call an API if I have the repo locally? So
Yeah,
unless I'm doing something.
yeah, and it would be interesting to see what kind of information there's locally that's different from the repository. But I think maybe the actual release notes are in the first comment. So I think I don't know if you can, if you have the first comment in your Git repo in your machine. So the information that gets sent in the, so whenever you open a new pull request and you have to assign like the kind and write the release note right there. I don't know if that's available in your Git repo. I think that's just that the comments are from GitHub itself.
Oh yeah, okay, I get it.
So I can, for example, I can, if I see my Git log, I can see the first message like this, but the actual information and the actual release note is in the first comment, which I mean, whenever you see it as, you may see it as an issue. Let me see. Let's take one, for example. Okay, so the part, if you see the Git commit message like this one here, sometimes it ends up like the title, but the actual information is here in the first comment.
Yeah.
So probably that's why he calls the GitHub API. And if there's a release note, it usually it's written here. And whenever, so part of our job at the end of the cycle would be, if there's a very important PR that got merged and doesn't have a release note, we have to go and bug the actual author of the PR in order for him to write or fix the wording on the release note, so that the final document is of a very better quality, right?
Yeah.
Right here, my computer is already processing the commit messages. If you see here, so we're going to be processing 994 commit messages, and I already hit the GitHub API limit. What krel does is that it starts talking to the API whenever it starts getting errors of the API rate limit. It'll sleep for a minute or so and then try again. So right now it's running once again, and it's already committing more. So it hit the API again and it'll sleep, and so on. But we already are on 40%, so shouldn't take very much to finish.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost completely automated by this point. So in the previous version, we had to go and get the actual hashes of the last commit from each of the labels. So we would have to go and take this hash here for each of for the starting commit and the final commit, and define that, and it was much more manual. And right now it almost does everything by itself. So I hope so. This has only been tried, like, how many times have we run this, Ray? Like
not many times.
Yeah,
way less than 10. So
exactly.
maybe.
Should be all right. I hope. So we have now like 2/3 of the commit messages already processed. And this, I don't know if you've seen the well, there's no draft currently, but I don't know if you've seen the output of the file. It's just markdown with all the release notes formatted. The release, James is asking about the release team meeting. It's in, yeah, me too, in an hour.
Yeah, me too.
So what are we doing? Okay, so it's let's see if okay. Oh man, I don't know if it's gonna work because I have my upstream. It's a bit dirty. Oh. Okay, so right now it finished. After running this, after running the, so what it did is it just finished processing all the commit messages. Then after that, it cloned Kubernetes SIG release to my repository, to my local machine in a temporary repo. Then it made a branch and pushed the release notes to my repo. So right here in GitHub, you can see that I already have the draft here, the branch, the new branch, and I should be able to do a pull request with that. Let's see. Okay. Let me see the changes. Release 119, the draft. Okay, so we already have one of the nodes, so I marked as urgent. Well, seems all right. The only thing I have a little bit of doubt here is whether we should have built the nodes from RC1 to version 119. I don't know if that's right. What do you think, Ray? Do you think that's right?
I don't know if that's right because 118.2 is out, and I know 118 RC1 is when I think that's when they do the branch cut.
So
for
probably
119.
So probably there's something wrong with the algorithm.
Yeah, that might be correct. I'm not sure if that's expected, but yeah.
So, but probably we can send that and check with Sasha later today to see if that's right.
There's an error in the output log saying getting release note from commit.
Yeah. So that's probably because the release node is empty, or probably didn't find the, so there's like a, if you see here in the the commit templates in most of the Kubernetes repos have like special commands built in, and there is one for the release nodes, and probably the author remove the let me see if we can see what's wrong with it. Yeah, so the release notes section on this PR has the release note is removed. The release note section is removed, so it should be after this. If we see the previous one,
This one's still open.
yeah, but it should still have one. Right. So, but there's like a section of the release note, and this it has like the fixed font markdown, and probably the author removed it because this one here should be like I don't know if this one or that one should have like the three apostrophes that start the fixed font markdown, and the author removed it. So probably that's the reason why it came out with an error.
Is that what krel checks for when it's trying to get a release note section?
Sorry?
Is that what krel checks for?
Yeah.
In order to detect that this, okay.
Yes, it pulls the actual message and searches for that. Okay, so well, I'm gonna PR this one and hold the merge, and so that we can. Okay, kind. First. Let's try. Let's try. Which is all right. I'll send the PR in a minute. So I want to get the other process rolling before we send that. So okay, so the next one is the generating the release notes for the site. I don't know if you ever seen the release notes site, which is this one here. So all of the release notes get written to this website here, where you can search them by version, subversion, by kind, and we're going to generate the release notes for this site for the alpha 2. To be honest, I don't know why we do this, because all of the minor releases are hidden. They don't show up on in the website. Probably that's something we should fix. If you see here, it's only actual releases, not the minor pre-releases. There's no alphas, betas, anything here. And actually, the alpha, beta, and release candidate information gets deleted once the final 1.19. Once we ship the 1.19 version, all the alpha, beta, and so forth will get deleted. So an interesting thing here is we don't have release notes for Kubernetes 1.18.1 and 2. And I thought the branch managers would do those, but I don't think so. Probably we should have done that. but that's another point to bring during the meeting later today. So, okay, so let's start building those. So what it does, it generates the release notes in JSON in a JSON file, and patches the website sources so that it can include the newly generated JSON with their new information. So here it is. So so it's the same krel release notes, and this time what we do is we're gonna specify the create website PR option, which is also a PR because we will eventually send the PR. Then the organization where I have the fork, this one is in the repository is Kubernetes 6/release notes. So it's a different, it's not under the Kubernetes main organization. And the tag. All right, so tag. All right. So everything is ready. Now send that. So it will do the same thing. So this time we won't have to wait for the whole cloning because I already have the clone. It's already processing the files. So I'm gonna, when you run the website command, as you can see, there's less commit messages to be processed because we're generating just one file for the current minor version. So when we run the draft, when the command to generate the draft, it processes all the commit messages in the 119 branch, all of them. So in this time, it only processes the commit messages for the this time it would be the alpha, the changes that happened during up to the alpha, only during the current version. So only those changes that went into alpha 2 are considered, and it's going to generate a file only with those changes. So while this is running, I'm going to send the PR. So, so Redis, we didn't have previously the PR template like this, right? So I think they added.
Yeah, that's new.
I'm going to have the command. So I hope that's all right. So I'm going to issue the I'm going to send this PR, and then I'm going to hold the merge so that we can discuss it with the team during the meeting later today to see if the RC one start here is correct.
I think you're missing the closing backticks.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
HE medium. I hope that's all right. It's hold, right? Or hold merge?
It's hold, yeah. One of the links you're gonna see on the PR, if you click on it later, it will show you like all the commands you could do.
One of these, right?
Yeah, it's one of those. It's,
All right. And over here. All right, so this one, it's already done. So it's the same thing. Well, almost the same thing. So this already processed all the commit messages. Then after that, what it does is it installs a bunch of npm modules in order to run a tool that's called prettier. Here it is. It installs all of the Node.js tools in your repo and runs this npm prettier, which predefines all the JSONs in the source and generates the branch and pushes the changes to my repo. So let's see if that worked. So here it is. And let's see. Okay, so here's, this is the JSON file that it generated. The release notes in JSON format for 1.19-alpha.2. They seem to be right. There should be another change as well. Here it is. It should patch this file here, assets.ts, with my newly generated file. And I felt like we should have generated the previous versions, but in the last calendar, release calendar that Steven sent, it specifically said that we should start with alpha 2. So that's what I did. So okay, so let me do the Okay.
I think I'm not in the Kubernetes 6 org yet.
All right. So let me just copy it from the other. So I'm also not in this organization. And I think I'm missing the codes. All right, so there it goes. And it'll okay, not approved. All right, so this one in this repo, everything is like manual. It changes, it checks, it runs a lot of tests, but I don't think they're actually needed. But it'll someone will come and check them, hopefully later today. So we have our 2 PRs now in place, and let's see if so if the starting tag of running the tool since the release candidate one is correct, then we should see those two merge later today, unless they ask us to generate the release notes for the other two versions that we're missing. The two actual revisions, or that is 118.1 and that 118.2, and for the alpha, I think there should be an alpha 0 and alpha 1, and but let's see what it tells. I don't know if you followed the latest the last process with me. If you get stuck at some point or have any doubts or questions.
So I have some questions.
Yeah.
How often are we going to be running this process, the one that you've just sort of taken us through?
How often?
Yeah.
In the beginning, we should expect. Let's see the last version of the calendar. So they usually do a release cut every in this stage at this stage of the cycle. They will do a release cut around every 2 weeks. So we will probably have. So let me check the calendar to see. And we should run our process after each of the releases.
Okay.
Releases. 19. So here it is. So we're gonna see an extra alpha, which is coming on May 5th. And after that, run the tool one more time. Then after this beta here on May 19, after this beta, and after each of the release candidates, one more time. And so at some point we expect to have this already automated, and I don't know if even though we automate the process, I don't know if the actual branch managers will integrate the release notes generation into their tooling, into their daily process. Let's hope so. But currently that's the thing, and we're going to do. We should update our status as a team after during each of the releasing meetings, like the one we're having later today.
Okay. And then are we going to be alternating, like who runs the process, let's say every 2 weeks?
Yeah, we can actually decide now if any one of you wants to do the process during the next cut. If you want to take it, just raise your hand and we can do it. I mean, if one of you wants to do it and you want me to be in a call like this, it's fine with me. Or we can running in the Slack chat we have. You can run it, and if anything comes up, you can ask there. But just volunteer in your.
Yeah. So for me, I would love to do it, but at the moment, I'm not really very confident. Because I've never done this before, but
Okay.
I would love maybe to do that next one, and maybe you can be around to
Yeah, sure.
sort of guide me.
You don't have to be scared. It's kind of difficult to actually mess anything up. So
Yeah.
do you want to do it, Wilson?
Yeah, sure. I like the idea of rotating things up.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
So you can do alpha 3, and we can do it either. So this is May the 5th. So I don't know what day that is. May the 5th. So we can do it. So we have to do it after they do the release cut. So we can do it the 5th during the afternoon, or well, I don't know, because maybe Alan wants to be there too. So at what time? Or we can do it on Wednesday at this time.
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible. As long as it's around this time, I'm okay.
Okay, so I don't know if you have you prefer on the 5th, on the 5th of May or 6th.
Any day, so I'm available. So yeah.
I'm okay with 5th or 6th. Though about time, I would prefer having it like 1 hour earlier if everyone's okay with that.
So like today, this time today, 1 hour earlier.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's fine with me. All right. So I'll schedule it later today. And any other questions or anything you'd like to?
How about the gotchas? Like deleting the Kubernetes repo if we're gonna run it again.
Right. So what this tool does is it clones in temporary repos. Those are temporary clones of the repositories that we just used. So they're here. We have, so the K8s repo, which is Kubernetes, you can reuse that as just like you saw right now. So the first time I ran the tool, it created this clone of the Kubernetes repository. So it cloned it, and the second round, when we generated the website release notes, it reused that. But there's currently a bug, which is actually, I think it's already fixed by James PR, which I have.
That's true. Yeah.
And but if I were to run the tool again, these two repos, this repo here, K8s sig release, is a Kubernetes /sig release repository. If I were to run the tool again, reusing that one, it will crash and burn. And the same is true for the K8s Kubernetes 6/release notes repo, which is this one here. So if anything goes wrong during the run, you should remove at least these two and try again, because otherwise it will break. But I think I was looking at James PR yesterday, and I think it's just stuck because because of me, I think I have a review that got stuck in there, and so I just have to give the thumbs up for it to merge, but I have to look into that. And that's one of the gotchas. What was there was another one, but it's already resolved. I don't know. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, I don't remember that one too.
Yeah, there was another error, but I also you have to amend the PR. Remember?
Oh yes, yeah, you have to amend the PR.
So
We don't need to do that anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly. So right now the PR will go with your current Git information. So if you have a Git configured in your machine, it will send the fork and then the PR with your information right now. So with your current Git information. So you don't have to worry about that. So the only thing is right now, if James PR doesn't merge by the time we run the tool with you, Wilson, if anything goes wrong, you just have to delete the temporary clones. But we'll see about that when we do the exercise. And well, I think that's it. Or if I'm not mistaken, that's all we have to do right now. Questions or anything?
None from me. Just want to say thanks.
All right. So I guess then we can end this now. And if anything comes up before the meeting or anything, just ask me on the Slack channel, and I'll ask the release team about the missing release notes and the starting tag, which I've been thinking about it. I think it's right because it's the last release candidate, and it's the last commit from that release candidate, and then the actual 119 release notes begin the next PR after that. But as Ray said, there's a 118.1 and 118.2. So, but we can resolve that asking them during the meeting. All right. So I think this is it. As you can see, there's a simple process that we do now. Most of it's already automated, and there should be no problem during the cycle. We actually spend more time giving updates and attending meetings and doing the actual release note generation. Okay, so
awesome, thank you.
Okay, so then I'll see you in the meeting in about an hour from now.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.